Wolf Children is a 2012/2013 Japanese animated film and is the first anime film to be produced by Studio Chizu, which was founded by the film's director, Mamoru Hosoda, and ooh boy, this one is a very complicated case in particular. Usually for Sean's yearly reviews, whenever I'd watch any given movie, my thoughts on the movie don't change drastically around a specific point in the runtime, that is, except for Gabby's Dollhouse the movie, which you already know what my thoughts were on that film, but in those cases, my feelings are generally consistent with what I feel about any given movie. However, with the subject of today's Sean's Yearly Reviews episode, Wolf Children, this was honestly the hardest one to judge out of all of them, because in all honesty, the film is very two-faced in regards to its quality. Because in all honesty, the first half of this movie is amazing, and might have resulted in the film getting an easy 10 out of 10, but the second half of the movie is not too good, and as a result of this, it results in me giving the film a 6 out of 10. So, what is Wolf Children about? This film revolves around a young woman named Hana. One fateful day, she falls in love with a guy who is half man, half wolf. She gets into a relationship with him that results in both of them having children with each other. However, shortly after they have children with each other, her husband ended up tragically drowning when he was trying to get food for his children, as the garbage men put him in a trash bag as they think he's roadkill, leaving Hana to take care of their new children, a girl named Yuki and a boy named Ame. However, because these two children are half animal, they end up having to move to the countryside. The best way to sum up this movie is by saying this. The first half of this movie can be summed up with one word in specific. This movie is absolutely adorable. And not just that, it's also very wholesome. And the first couple of minutes remind me of the opening sequence of Up, showing the life of a very happy couple who ended up having a child before the parent tragically dies, before the other parent ends up having to take care of them. Like, this movie was very close to getting a 10 out of 10 score from me personally, with the first half basically showing the struggles of being a single mother and the wholesome scenes with Yuki and Ame. I think the sequences which basically shows the wholesome vibes of this movie off the best is definitely the subversion of the male and female children. Usually in fiction, shows or movies like to portray the male as being strong and aggressive and the female as being incredibly timid, but in this movie, it's actually the other way around, and I'm actually okay with this. It shows that not all guys are overly masculine and that they can be vulnerable too. And while the second half of the movie admittedly takes a bit of a nosedive, for reasons that I'll be going into later, it does admittedly start off as good as the first half, with Yuki unintentionally hurting her classmates in a sequence that, no joke, almost made me cry while watching this with Matthew the Prep, because you can see that she didn't mean to hurt him. It's just that she was going into panic mode when he mentions that he smells a wolf, and she felt that she needed to avoid him because of that fact. And well, that's a part of life as well. And to be honest, if the movie kept itself at this level, where it goes through the struggle of adolescence, and maybe even touches upon the struggles of being a teenager, and was on the same emotional level as the beginning and the sequence where Yuki unintentionally hurt her classmates, this would have probably gotten a 10 out of 10. So what went wrong in regards to this movie? Well, the second half of this movie is what went wrong with this movie. So the point where things start to take a nosedive is the part where Yuki and Ame get into a fight about going to school or learning how to embrace their wolf side. And from there, the film starts to show its cracks. So you remember the ending of Ralph Breaks the Internet, Toy Story 4, and the Lilo and Stitch remake, where they decide to have two or more of its characters that were friends with each other split entirely? Well, that's pretty much what Wolf Children does. Now granted, it's not as bad in this movie as it was in those three, because to an extent, I can understand what this movie is trying to go for. Yuki and Ame are half human and half wolf, so what the movie is trying to showcase is that they both have two different paths in life, but at the exact same time, the way that it's handled in this movie is very poorly executed. I think that it might have been handled better if they had Ame trying to go through with taking his sensei's place immediately, but Hana tries to stop him, but instead, we get a reason that straight up feels like parody. You know how in Lilo and Stitch, Lilo was made fun of because she thought that a fish can control the weather? Well, here's Wolf Children doing that exact same thing that the other kids in Lilo and Stitch made fun of Lilo for believing. Apparently, according to this movie, wolves are what controls the weather. And Hana is absolutely right in this movie. Abe is only 10 years old. Now yes, 10 years old is enough to be considered an adult in wolf years, but Abe is still half human, so he's still too young to be going out by himself. I mean, if we were to get technical for a second, Steven from Steven Universe, despite being a half gem himself, is also still a human that needed time to develop throughout the series. And Shantae from the Shantae series, while she doesn't have a confirmed age, she was confirmed by the developers to be an adult, in spite of the fact that genies are known to be immortal, is still half human. And Abe didn't even, like, apologize to his mother for leaving her deeply worried, nor did he even apologize to Yuki for causing the fight between them in the first place, so as a result, it left this movie on a downer note. Which, honestly, is an absolute shame, because this movie was close to getting a 10 out of 10, but as it stands right now, if you do want to watch this movie, go right ahead, because I do know that my thoughts on how they handled the ending of this movie is entirely subjective, and I think we could all agree on one thing: the romance story at the beginning of this movie is executed much better than the entirety of the Twilight trilogy combined.
Coming up next, it's
the greatest thing ever, a garden cartoon extravaganza.